Welcome to the Onward Podcast, everybody. My name is Emily Harmon. I'm the host of the Onward Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about how do we let go of perfect? When I published the title of this episode, a lot of people resonated with it. There were a lot of comments on it. And so I hope that the people that commented join us a little bit tonight and submit your comments. Let me know if you have any questions. And let me just play a short intro video, and then I'll bring our guest, PJ Jackson, in. We are live. One day at a time, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Onward Podcast. So the Onward Podcast is all about facing adversity, moving forward, and discovering ourselves along the way. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest, PJ, and add her to the stream. Hi, PJ.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you, Emily. I'm so grateful to be here today. Thanks.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. I want to know what you have to say about letting go of perfect. I think many of us struggle with that. And the way we met is, I think one day I just saw DAU, Defense Acquisition University, was making some posts about their upcoming TED Talks. And then I saw some posts from you, and we connected, and then we met. And then I read your book, and I said, PJ, why'd you write a book about me?
I get that a lot, because the character in the book is called The Woman.
The woman.
The character doesn't have a name. And it's identifying with that character. And so when I get feedback of, I'm reading a story about me, it's like, exactly, that's what I wanted you to insert yourself into that character, because then it becomes a real feeling that you feel.
Well, a lot of people listening to this should read that book, because they will feel that it's about them. And let's say hi to Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Maria.
And we have Dr. Tony Johnson saying hi. So thank you guys for joining us. Please post questions if you have them, and we'll work on answering them. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the book, but don't give it all away, because you want people to read the book.
Well, gosh, it's really been a journey. And I, grew up in Ohio, worked on a farm when I was a little girl. That was hard work was taught from an early age. Joined the Navy, sailed the 7 seas, lived in Turkey during Desert Storm, ended up being a single parent in the Navy. So 10 of my 14 years, I was a single parent. So I actually had to take a parenthood to take care of my daughter. And I looked around and I said, what do I want to do? So I got in lobbying. So I was in banking, in lobbying and banking. Then I ran political campaigns. And I thought, well, I better get a big girl job here somehow. And decided to be an engineer. And then worked through my master's in engineering and became an applied scientist, which you don't hear a lot of people be an applied scientist. And my area of expertise is knowledge transfer. So I spent 50 some years striving to be my father's favorite son. And I was a very successful white male. I was usually the only woman in the group. And I never felt like I was ever good enough. I was always striving for perfect. And that's where I really want to take us today, is around this discussion around, we are socially conditioned to be thankful for whatever we're offered, because we're women and we should be grateful that anyone wants us at the table. And we should be, willing to put in 110% all the time.
Prove yourself.
Prove yourself. And for me, I used to get red programs. So in industry, when you get a program that's in trouble, they would come to me and say, hey, can you fix this? And it was usually from a man who hadn't put in the effort. And I would say, oh, yes, you like me. Oh, thank you. I'm so grateful. And I'd put all the hours in, and they'd go off to a conference somewhere because they didn't have the work anymore. And I finally woke up to say, hey, I don't like this. This isn't fulfilling. I might be perfect for you, but it's not perfect for me. And so I really had to decide what I was going to do. And life sort of told me. My husband got sick twice. He got sick in 2002 with leukemia and was only given 2 years to live. And then in 2015, he fell out of remission. And that time he said, if we know I'm going to die this time, maybe you should stop working. And I said, how about you live and I retire? And that was in 2016. And he is still living today. Awesome. Yay. And my whole life has changed. So my little book, The Labyrinth Influence, Awaken the Wisdom Within, is actually my journey of transformation. And so for you to say when you read it, you thought of you, it's because it's a lot of the things that we struggle with, especially as high-performing females in a Navy, that, right? Yeah. And aerospace and defense industry.
Those are tough. The Naval Air Systems Command was the toughest place to work for me. And Maria works there. Hi, Ross. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Ross.
Maria. Hi. Maria's an engineer at the Naval Air Systems Command. Yeah. And it's, many times I was the only female in the room. And, I could just relate to that book and relate to, I think you had a stroke, right?
In 2012, I was diagnosed with a stroke.
Right, but you had to get to work because there was a briefing going on. Yeah. So you didn't have time for that stroke.
No, I know. My husband, I can remember, I woke up and I was paralyzed on one side of my body. I was on travel. I was on travel. I live in Virginia. I was in Florida. And I called him early in the morning. I said, honey, I'm not quite sure what's going on. And he's like, well, call an ambulance. And I'm like, well, I'm going to take a shower first. Maybe it'll go away.
You've had a presentation to give.
I know. But that's what's taught to us, right? We are taught you cannot have imperfections. You cannot have things that happen that take you away from your work, from what other people are expecting of you. And that's the problem. Perfectionism causes us, we don't realize what is taught to us as children. We want to be accepted. And so being accepted causes us to listen to criticism. And when someone criticizes us, we think, oh, I have to do something different so they'll like me. And then you are striving to be perfect to other people's standards. And then when you get criticism, you keep going. Well, if they don't like me, I must be doing something wrong. And then all of a sudden you wake up in your 20s and 30s and you're this people-pleasing perfectionist and you don't know how you got there. And you don't know how to get out of it. And you have to find this inner self-awareness that says, I was born perfect and complete. Mm-hmm. And I have amazing skill, intellect, ideas to bring to the table. And when you start embracing your own power, your own voice, that self-awareness says, when I'm criticized, I'm going to take that as a learning, not as a cut, but as a learning. And then I'm going to love myself and say, thank you. That criticism, there's got to be some truth in there. So let me learn from that. Mm-hmm. And then let me apply self-love, self-care, and say, okay, I'm going to grow from this. And now I'm still going to be me. Thank you for that feedback. And that's hard.
I got a question for you on that. But okay. Hi, Karl, Shawn. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. You're a guest of mine coming up in a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to talking to you. Karl Shawn talks a lot about vulnerability and why men need to be, vulnerability is a strength, even for a man.
Yes, absolutely. So what's your question?
My question is, okay, well, how all of a sudden did perfectionist, overachieving PJ all of a sudden realize what you just said?
Yeah.
How'd you figure it out?
So it doesn't happen overnight. It really doesn't, because we teach ourselves the habits of perfectionism. Every time somebody in the schoolyard doesn't like us, we try harder. Every time somebody doesn't invite us to a party when we're a kid, we try harder, right? And so we're taught that. So now when you are at a point where you start awakening to your own personal agenda and understanding who you are, you have to start teaching yourself that. So one of the tricks that I learned was, you start imagining what's going to happen at a meeting before you go to the meeting. I'm sure you've been there. Okay, I'm going to have a meeting tomorrow, and Bob's going to be there, and Sally's going to be there, and Bob's going to do this, and Sally's going to do that, and they're not going to like my ideas, and I'm going to have to. And so you create that turmoil before you get there. Mm-hmm. And it probably comes true, because that's what you've created. Mm-hmm. So what I started doing back in 2013 was, okay, I'm going to this meeting. What's my role? What am I bringing to the table? Okay. And I'm going to go, and I'm going to be me, and I'm going to shine. And no one can take that away from me. And I'd get to those meetings and I'd go, okay, I'm going to be me. I really am. I'm going to be me. And sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. And it was this habit. So back in 2013, I actually started like a spiritual training under Deepak Chopra. And I was able to spend 5 years studying under Deepak. That's and amazing. It was such a blessing, such a huge blessing. And it is this journey of self-discovery that helps you. So my circling to your center tool has these 3 core self-awareness questions. Who am I? Am I on the right path? And what do I believe about myself? And traditionally, when we say, who am I? We start listing.
I'm a mom. Yeah.
We start listing our roles, our titles, right? But that's not who you are at your essence. It's just the role that you fill. And each layer that you pull back, you start realizing that you are this stardust of the universe, this soul that is here for a purpose. The question around, am I on the right path? For me, I was on someone else's agenda. I was really trying to prove to my father that I was worthy of his love. And so every time I'd get a promotion or a raise, he'd tell his friends more. At one point, I was like the Secretary of the Navy. I was the CEO of, to him, I was never good enough. But it caused that in me to say, I'm still not good enough. I'm making 6 figures. I'm an executive in industry, and I'm still not good enough. So when you start going on your own path, you start realizing that, what is it that I wanted to do when I was little? And I'm a huge hugger. I give love. When I traveled, so my schedule in industry, 60 speaking engagements in a year.
Wow.
The way I would re-energize myself is I'd hug strangers. I'd walk up to people in the airport that looked sad, and I'd say, can I hug you?
Oh, I wish I was at the airport. I was there at airports a lot.
Yeah. And then the last question, what do I believe about myself? You are what you believe. If you believe that you are imperfect and that you're never going to be good enough and that you're always going to screw up, you will.
How many times do people really ask themselves those questions, though? I was too busy. I didn't have time to ask that.
Yeah.
Maria says, perfectionism and panic attacks. I've seen this happen in several working women. Comment.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's because you are not balanced, okay? And balance doesn't come overnight. Does not come overnight, okay? What you have to do is you have to have this moment I talk about the hype cycle of awakening. And there's this moment where you realize what I use the term divine discontent, that you have been striving all your life and you're still not fulfilled. This perfectionism and this panic attack comes because you are trying to be someone you're not. You're trying to fulfill other people's expectations. So what has to happen is you have to step back and start to love yourself. And I will tell you, for me, that was the hardest journey ever. I can remember being at Carnegie Mellon at a executive workshop, meeting a stranger, and she said, "Tell me all about your goals in life." And I was like, "Oh, my doctorate work, my advancement, getting to be a vice president, budget, and my family, my daughter." And she was like, "Well, where are you on that list?" And I'm like, "Me? I'm fine."
Yeah, all the answers you gave her is what you're supposed. That's the right answer. That's the perfect answer.
Right. And so what we have to do, and that's what this Awaken 1 million is all about. And I know that we'll get to talking about that, but there is a moment that you realize that there's more in life. And when you do, you start this journey of evolution. There's a conscious evolution that humans take. And we teach in not only my private practice, but in our Awaken 1 million events, the Barrett model. So Richard Barrett built this 7-layer model around consciousness. And in the first 3, they're very ego-based. And when you are living in this ego-based consciousness, you have this contracted awareness. Everything feels like weighing on you. And that's where those panic attacks come from. You are contracted and you're not able to see past what everyone else is putting on you. Once you start opening that up, you can start to live a life of grace and ease and own personal power. The one tool is gratitude. If you take nothing away from this conversation, take gratitude, because what I teach is this evening review. So right before you finalize your evening thinking, right? You're laying in bed, play your day over in your head. You will find things to be grateful for, if at the minimum that you're breathing. And then as you fall asleep in gratitude, you wake up in gratitude. Those are simple, simple things that start to shift your perspective.
And Maria, you knew me when I worked for the Navy. We worked together at NavAir, and what PJ just described is what I have been through in the past 2.5 years, because I had made it to the top. I was a SDS tier 2, and something was missing. I didn't know what it was. I knew I was missing having meaningful conversations like this one. I was too busy. I was at those lower levels of awareness, and my awareness has just expanded. And I would not be where I am today without the coaches that I've invested in. And I'm sure you would say that too, PJ. You worked with Eckhart Tolle right? Deepak Chopra for 5 years. I just reinvested in another coach for a whole nother year. At first I thought, well, why would someone be with the coach for like 2 years straight? But I get it, because you're learning so much, and as your awareness expands and expands, it's just so much more to learn about yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's your perspective that's changing.
Yeah.
And for as many years as it took you to let go, to build those habits of perfectionism, realize that those neural pathways and those habits and those triggers are there. So now, how do I go to a meeting? I have this little note on my computer that says, "Know what you bring to the table. You truly have nothing to fear." I just show up. I got invited to a meeting because I'm me, and I'm going to show up. I'm not going to panic about it. If I have a deliverable, I'm going to be responsible and do my deliverable, but I'm not going to sweat it because I'm good at what I do. And every one of us were born perfect and complete. We have trained ourselves to have biases, to have judgment, to hate, to feel not enough. And that's what we have to do. We have to reverse that and unlearn all those habits that make you feel crazy.
And it takes time. So you have a couple of slides. Is this the time that you want to show them?
Sure. So this will give you a little bit of concreteness around this journey into being perfect.
It's just such an awesome journey. And I was in what you would call push energy, so much push. And now it's just, life is so much easier. I'm in flow. I'm still accomplishing stuff, but that stress isn't there. And it's not because I'm not working for the Navy anymore. I would love to be able to go back and just have the new Emily in that job and just see.
I know. Absolutely. Well, this sort of puts into picture what I was saying earlier. So we become this people pleaser right around third grade is when we start realizing that popularity is important. And we start experiencing rejection and criticism, then we need to be perfect. And then we feel this fear that we're not perfect, so we're going to be criticized. So we people please, and then we're criticized, and then we have to be perfect. And so you can see how this cycle just plays upon itself. And you are thinking, well, isn't that what I was supposed to do? Am I not supposed to please people? And I will tell you a story of a young woman who I took on as a coaching client. She met me at one of my book sessions, and she said, I just got offered this job, and I think it's probably what I should take. What do you think? And I said, is it on your path? And she said, my path? What's my path? And I said, what is your soul's purpose? And she's like, my soul's purpose? I said, so how much work have you done on yourself? She's like, oh, we need to talk. None.
Yeah.
And we do. We ask others really important questions, and we say yes to things without really talking to ourselves about it. So the other part, right? So how do we break through? You asked me the question, what happened? How did I do this? And so this expanded awareness, when you are doing people pleasing, you have this inner knowing that you can do things that please others, but is it because you are looking to do it? Is it your agenda that you want to do that? When you receive criticism or rejection, be thankful. Not being invited somewhere could be a gift, and we don't think of it that way. Self-love, knowing that you are the most important person you will ever meet in your entire life, and that you need to know yourself and love yourself. And then the acceptance of, okay, I failed. What did I learn? And now you move forward. So when you think about it that way, it's building habits that actually teach you to change how you react to those triggers, right? Because we have those triggers, and they're usually based in childhood. I do a reflection exercise with my retreat clients, and I take you back to the first moment you remember you felt you weren't good enough. And then you say to yourself, so am I still acting like that? And it's really eye-opening. And to your point, Emily, about coaches, we don't talk to ourselves like that.
No.
Having someone help us have those conversations is enlightening. And that's how you transform. That's how you move up that level of consciousness and transform.
Right. And coaches can help you see your blind spots and notice patterns that maybe you wouldn't notice on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got a big goal ahead of you, a big dream. You want to help awaken 1 million people.
Moonshot. Yes, moonshot.
Oh,
Yeah.
who are you that you can set a goal that big?
Ah, I'm PJ Jackson.
That's awesome. I love it.
But I will tell you that there are struggles when you aren't in alignment with what you're supposed to do. So back in the day, when I retired in 2016, I was writing my children's book. I was living at the National Institute of Health with my husband. We were living there for 7 months while he was getting treatment. And I thought I was supposed to actually be a kindness consultant to elementary schools, thinking that I should focus on the children, because one of my publicists wrote me and said, if you want to change the future, write a children's book. So I was like, okay, again, external. I want to please you. Let me write a children's book. Sophie G. Wonderland is an amazing story around a little girl who teaches the colors of kindness. She wears rainbow socks and she teaches kindness. So I thought that would be it. Then I started teaching the nurses at NIH around being positive with their patients. Well, then maybe I should do that. Maybe I should be a nurse's aide. Maybe I should be an advocate for cancer patient families. Maybe I should. And you just say, I'm so good at so many things. Maybe I should do them all.
Yeah. Why not?
And you get lost, right? You really get lost. And over the time, I always had this one statement. I want to influence 1 million people to be loving, kind, and respectful to themselves and to others. But I had no idea what it was going to look like. And I just kept it up on the wall. And I kept thinking, I have a message. I'm not sure how I'm going to deliver it. And as I started working with my clients one-on-one, I realized that it was this awakening moment, that as I do it with one-on-ones, imagine being in an auditorium of 5,000 or 20,000 people, and everyone is having this moment of brilliance that they matter. And when they do, their whole life shifts.
Yeah.
So I was coaching one of my TED talkers, and she wasn't ready for the coaching session. She was in a hotel, she had wet hair, and she's like, I'm not really ready for this today. I've been on travel. And I said, okay, well, what do you want to talk about? And she said, what's your moonshot? And I was like, okay, so moonshot is what's that big idea that, you want to do? And it's got to be big. And I said, well, I want to influence 1 million people to be loving, kind, and respectful. She said, well, how are you going to do it? And I said, well, imagine 20,000 people in a room and they get this awakening all at the same moment. And I'm certified in a tool called emergenetics, which is this. And in fact, where's my little profile here? It's a color visualization. So without even knowing this tool, yellow is creative, red is social and relationships, green is structure, and blue is analytics. When I got this profile, I was like, that's me. I'm in the 95 percentile of creative. There's only 2% of the people in the world that are like that. I can have big ideas. I can do this. And it validated that I wasn't that crazy blonde in the corner, the only woman in the room. It validated that I could do this. So our TED event was June 9th. And I bought the website June 12th. It's been 66 days, and we have already gotten 2 founding values partners. So 2 organizations, Global Value Alliance out of London and World Values Day, also out of London, that are our partners. And the organization that does this tool, we had a corporate meeting with. We are having community calls, and people are just flocking to this because you take the assessment, you come together in a collective, and then you get 3 months of mentoring and coaching. And Emily, you're one of our coaches in that environment, which is going to be amazing. I mean, think about it. In 90 days, you learn about yourself, you celebrate it with a collective, all learning about themselves, and then you have 90 days to set intentions around self-care and career and business with people like you to share with. And it's getting traction like crazy. So
I'm so excited.
it is. It's so exciting. So how did I get here? One day at a time.
Yeah.
And asking myself, does this feel right? Am I moving my soul's purpose forward? That's the question. And it's tough. One, do you know what your soul's purpose is?
Right.
And then two, are you moving forward every day toward that purpose?
How do you find your soul's purpose?
That is that circling to your center. Who am I? Am I on the right path? And what do I believe about myself? And then,
oh, go ahead.
Well, there is this 7 narratives that I take clients through, which really digs down deep, but we have a lot of blockages that we don't even realize that we have that hold us back. Mm-hmm. So that's the big thing, right? Mm-hmm. You got to get past that to understand. Because for me, was my sole purpose kindness to elementary schools or to cancer patients? I mean, how do you find it? I will tell you, there is this metric. It's giddiness. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, how excited are you to get up in the morning every day and just like, oh my gosh, I get to do this today.
Yeah.
And you know what? Everybody should be able to feel that way with their profession.
Yes.
And, I didn't always feel that way. I felt like the weight of the world on my shoulders and, but I was going to say, when you said giddiness and also like, who's answering the question? Is it your ego or is it you? And I was so proud of my son. About a year ago, he was planning on he's going to study to be an engineer. And at one point he was going to be an electrical engineer and he was going to go to the University of Delaware, which is right near where he lived. But we had this conversation. He said, Mom, I'm going to switch my major and I'm going to go in state because he lives in Maryland. He said, I really think I've been thinking about it. And it was really my ego that wanted to go to University of Delaware and study electrical engineering. And I really want to study materials engineering. And I'm going to go to Frostburg. And it was his ego that was driving him to a particular school. And I just thought at 27 or 26, when he figured that out, that was awesome because, I know my ego drove me. I'm humble and I'm not like a bragging person, but still I think my ego drove me to promotions and stuff.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, because that's what we're trained to do, to compete, to strive, to always get better.
Yeah. So Maria said she used to feel some kind of way when she didn't get invited because you were mentioning that in the perfection thing. Now I'm fine with it. More time to do what I planned. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
True, Maria.
Absolutely. And
yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you. It's okay to say no. Good habits are important. Absolutely. And saying no doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means that it's not right for me right now. My TED Talk actually was how to be successful in business without ever saying no. And it was yes, not yet, or I have a better plan. We all need a coach.
I agree, Russ. Russ is a coach too. He's So yeah, I definitely, the first time I had a coach was when I became a senior executive and she was so helpful. She was from DAU. Now for some reason, because I'm on camera, I'm going to forget her name right now. And I know her name too. But she was so helpful and she went to Georgetown and got trained and Marcia Richard. I don't know if you knew Marcia, but she really helped me in that first year to make that transition from 15 to SES. And that's when I'm like, wow, why do you have to be an SES to get a coach? I think that, and coaching is different than mentoring. And when I worked at NavAir, they were really big on mentoring, but mentoring is kind of like, well, this is how I got to this position. So this is how you need to do it. And that's not what coaching is.
No, not at all. And it's really a beautiful relationship when you're with a coach that has no agenda. And that's the magic. When you have someone whose only purpose is to help you find your path and is helping you ask the questions. I started with a new client a couple weeks ago now, and her first week with her homework, I said, "Did you get to your homework?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Why didn't you send it to me?" She goes, "Well, last coach I had never even looked at my homework. Why you look at my homework?" And I'm like, "How do I know what you're thinking if I don't look at your homework?"
Right.
And it really is a wonderful relationship. I have some clients that take 2 sessions. So I do 12 weeks. Mm-hmm. And, I have some folks that want to do a double session. And then they get to this point where they're a little dependent and they're like, "I don't want you to go." And I'm like, "You can do this. You can do this." Right. Mm-hmm. So I think every good coach has to have that ability to help you stand on your own. And right. I teach a lot of tools to understand your mantra, understand what your values are, understand, what matters to you. I have another perfect example. I asked for 3 questions when you start. What is it that you want to accomplish over the 12 weeks? And I had one client say, "Well, can my profile help me understand the right relationship? Because I would like a nice relationship." And what we found was that she was never even looking at what she valued when she was looking for a partner. Mm-hmm. She was looking for the movies they watched or the music they liked or the food they liked to eat, very superficial kind of things, because if you're compatible, then you should make a good relationship. But the reality is, it's our values that connect us.
Interesting.
And when we had that conversation, you could see the light bulb go off. She's like, "I can't wait to meet someone new so I can try these new questions out on this."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So it's really a journey. It is.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I enjoyed reading your book so much. It was the Labyrinth, the
Labyrinth Influence. It comes in this little linen bag, and it's a little pocket-sized book. It's really, really sweet. And it's designed as a airport read, where you pick it up on the way and then you just put it in your purse or your briefcase and you read it on the way. And when you land, it's there. It's also on Audible. So
yeah, that's how I did it on Audible. I didn't have that little bag. I need to get that. That's so cute. Yeah, and it's nice because it is a short read, but you don't want to put it down, especially if you're somebody like me. It's because it's like, wow, yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me. I mean, just reading that book helps you kind of awaken to some of your patterns and habits that you might not be aware of.
Absolutely. So I do book clubs on the road, and I was up in Boston doing a book club. And so I said, "Okay, everybody, so who read the book?" And everybody raised their hand because I was the visiting author. So it was like, okay, good. So how many people saw themselves? And you see all these hands go up. I said, "How many people saw their mother?" And they were like, "Oh yeah." Because I come from that generation, and I'm sure that a lot of people's mothers also are the story in that book. And I've had a lot of young women come to me and say, "I understand my mother so much better now."
Oh yeah, I could see that. I should have my daughter read it. I mean, yeah. I mean, she understands. We get along really well. But yeah, she would say, if she read that book, she'd say, "That book's about you, Mom."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's
why wants to go to your Awaken 1 million. What do they need to do? They need to sign up. Your first event's going to be small, right?
Right. So Awaken 1 million right now is the website's up, and it gives you all the details about what we're doing. And each week I send out an email, what's happening, because we're just growing. In fact, I've got my logo we just posted yesterday. I've got a little picture of that we can show before we close. And people are on LinkedIn telling me what they think about the logo. It's a sort of like a comment on why you think this logo is the way it is. So we'll show that in a minute. But each month we do a community call. This Friday, we're having Alan Williams, who is the founder of the Global Value Alliance. He is one of our founding values partners. So he will be calling in live from London on Friday and talking about values and how values in the Barrett model help organizations as well. And then we have another one in September and October. We're supporting World Values Day, which is October 21st. So we'll be running a free workshop globally on reconnecting to self, the journey of fulfillment. So that'll be cool. We're sponsoring that out of Awaken 1 Million. And then November 22nd is our first 100-person event, and it's going to be in the DC area. I'm thrilled to say I've just brought on an event program manager, Danita, and she starts on Monday.
Awesome.
And so we'll be picking out the venue. It'll be an evening reception and a full day and guest speakers, and you'll get your Emergenetics profile. So that's part of the session. And we'll do some, wellness movement activities and, of course, some music. Can't have any good event without music. And then Pete Schramm, who is the CEO of Lattice, which is our platform, will then help our 100 people set intentions and then move into that platform where we have coaches like yourself, Emily, that people for 3 months will be able to set up 30-minute calls with all these different coaches at no cost, because this is this community, right? For those 3 months. And then, of course, if they want to stay in the community, it's a subscription after that. But this gives you a 90-day sort of jumpstart in the way that you can start awakening. And so it's so exciting. And we're already, I don't want to say the name in public here, but we have a sports figure who is interested in sponsoring the Capital One Center for our 20,000 person event next year in November.
That's
so
awesome.
Everybody keep all of their universal fingers crossed that through.
That's awesome.
And this morning, I actually got a contact in London who is looking for a venue for a 5,000 person event in London in 23. So we've got 10 years here to awaken 1 million people, and we're going to do it everywhere in the globe that will invite us. So
I have a question. There's a big trending post on LinkedIn right now about the mental health of employees at work, and how mental health is starting to be a topic that, HR is paying more attention to, that, people are so stressed with COVID and everything. So why shouldn't, how does awakening help with that?
So the journey of awakening actually moves you from these levels of ego base to transformation. So the level 4 of personal development is transformation. And that awakening then helps you move into alignment, allows you to collaborate more and contribute to society. So what happens is when you are contracted in those first 3 levels, you're focused on survival, perfection, fitting in. Do you have all the relationships you should have, could have, that kind of thing. When you move into this evolutional transformation through this awakening, you let go of that ego-driven part of you, and you start seeing, how can I be in service? How can I collaborate? How am I part of this larger collective? And so that's so important. You then start to, what I see in my clients is this balance that happens. You are not looking for euphoric days. Excitement is a good thing, but you can't live at that level of thinking that life is always like that, because you're eventually going to come down, right? And then you can dip even lower into depression. What awakening and finding your authentic self does is it helps you balance. On a really exciting day, it makes you grateful that, I know that tomorrow will be more normal and more, not like, oh, I'm so amazing, how wonderful this day is. No, it's like, this is a good day, and
right.
Tomorrow will be another day, right? So it's that living in the presence. You mentioned Eckhart Tolle. I used one of his quotes this last article that I wrote, and he talks about living in the present. And that is so difficult to do.
Mhm.
It, when I started it, it was like, this is boring. I'm supposed to just sort of be here like this. How do I get anything accomplished in the present? You just sort of, you get all messed up there, But as we start to help people have their voice and express what they're feeling through this kind of mental health awareness, these self-care retreats that I do for corporations, it's a 4-week retreat. We do a Monday session, and then they have all week to do homework and think, and then they come back the following Monday. What happens is these are opportunities that they've never had before to talk to themselves. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, it was like, don't talk to yourself. That's crazy people. Crazy people talk to themselves. And it's like, okay, I won't. It's still happening, so I must be crazy.
Right.
But it's true. You cannot evolve unless you learn to know who you are. And so awakening is this transformation of letting go of ego, of letting go of that competitive. Now, I want to say there is a time and place for competing and striving and building things. Our world wouldn't be where it is if we hadn't grown through all these stages. We are now in a humankind awareness that says, if we do not collaborate and connect and be in service to humankind, we will destroy what we've built. And I think that's the other part of this. That's why this time is so important. We're on this tipping point where, yes, we've grown as a society. We've built all of these wonderful things. But now, how do we nurture the human in us so that we do, as a planet, survive? Got a little philosophical on you there.
No, I completely get it, and I'm so glad that you're going for this, and that you set a big goal, 1 million, and just imagine awakening 1 million people, and then those 1 million people reach out to more. So it's like a wave. Like you throw a pebble in the water, and it just keeps expanding. And
oh yeah. Absolutely.
I'm so thankful that you're doing this, and I'm so glad that we met and that I can help and be a part of what you're doing. So
thank you. I'm so glad we did too. May I show the logo, and maybe the folks that are on the line with us can give us some comments, because I've had some in LinkedIn that are just phenomenal, things I would have never thought of.
Yeah, I'm not that creative when I see things. I think I said I see potential, but yeah. Share it.
Okay.
So when, at the time, as you're working on sharing that, at the time when you were thinking, well, maybe I should write children's books, or maybe I should teach children, or, all the different things, you were still kind of taking action, right? You weren't just sitting there like, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. You were kind of still moving forward. And as you move forward, that's when the direction becomes more clear.
Well, that's absolutely correct. What we find is whatever you think is important today, start doing it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to learn. You're going to learn, is part of it feel good? I did an event January 20th of 2020, and I was on stage and I was teaching what I teach in my retreats. And I thought that day was what I would be doing forever. But what it taught me was I was giving too much information in too short a period of time. That one day, 4-hour session turned into 4 weeks. It taught me that what I was teaching people was just too much for them to handle at one time.
Yeah. And you wouldn't have known that if you hadn't just taken action.
Absolutely.
An example I have is, the website I developed. The very first website read like a Navy instruction, because when I retired, I was like, I don't even know what I feel. I don't know how to be. I don't know how to write anymore. I don't know how to put feeling into my writing. And so it took a while to get to where I am now. So, all right, this is your Awaken 1 million.
It is. It is. And so I even had a vision yesterday when I was doing a corporate briefing. I said, now take a line and slice through the word one, put a blue line through it and write a number 2. This is a legacy. This is something that, I'm 60. I'll do this for the next 10, 12 years. And probably around year 7, I will find someone in the crowd that is like, that's me, just a lot younger. Because we will never stop needing this until each generation learns this when they're little. And that's going to be a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is something. So I mean, people are talking about a seed. So I'm not giving it away what it is yet. I'm going to wait for about a week before I post it on LinkedIn. But it's a seed. It's a treble clef. I actually had someone say it looks like an elephant on the side where his tusk is down.
Does. Oh my God!
The potential.
I can see that.
Yeah. I know. So, and of course, orange is the color of positivity. So it's really important that everything that we do reflects the work that we're trying to, my orange jacket is, I'm the, yay, Maria. Thank you.
I'm glad we met you too. I'm glad to know you, Maria.
Absolutely.
I interviewed Maria on my podcast too. She was the Maryland is Mother of the Year.
Oh, no kidding. Congratulations.
Maria mentors a lot of people. She teaches people, younger people and older people, whatever, how to play chess. She and her husband have a chess club, and then she is into science, STEM, so she's always teaching kids about STEM. She's just awesome. So
that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Well, so let me see. I have a banner here that has your website. It's easy to remember, pjjackson.com, and that's how they can find out about how to work with you as a coach. And
absolutely. Now, Emily, may I ask a favor of you?
Yes.
So at the end of every one of my sessions with my clients, I pull a good vibe card.
Okay.
So I am friends with the Golden Condor. She is a shaman in California. And this little set of good vibe cards are positivity cards that she and her daughter created. And it is amazing what comes up. So they're actually very beautiful. And each one of them has something on it. And then it comes with this little booklet that you can read. And what I find is that the energy of whatever my session is that I'm working with someone, that I just sort of lay these across and I pull one and I read it. And
awesome.
It never fails what it's going to be. So may I?
Yes.
Okay.
This is exciting.
Yes, I know. It really is. I really love doing this.
I would like to buy those cards. You got to tell me how to get them.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I got 2 trying to stick together. I think okay, here we go. Oh, I love this. Okay. So let me pull it up in the book and then I will put it up. Okay.
Okay. I can't read it.
Okay, I will. So I'll show you the picture so that you can feel the energy of the picture and I will read it. It's claim all your energy back to you. Every time you worry, you leak energy. Your thoughts of another control your mind. They are renting space in your head. You have the power over these thoughts as well as the negative loops you are stuck in. Empower yourself daily by empowering your mind. Find where it is you still feel powerless over others and yourself. Stop worrying and shift your thinking. Seal your energy with a field of golden light. Say, I claim all my energy back to me now, clean and clear. I release all fear-based thoughts. Breathe and feel whole in every fiber of your being.
That's awesome.
That is
that.
oh, I
That's
got goosebumps. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. That's something. Oh, I had a coach who sent me some cards too, and I don't pull them out and look and do that enough. I need to do that. Put them right here by my desk.
it is really. And so at the end of my session with my clients, that's my gift to them. And I found that that's an easier way to sever the tie, because every session we have it, and then when they go off on their own, it's sort of like my connection to them, and when they pull the cards. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the Onward podcast, PJ. I'm
Thank
so glad we met.
I am too. I am too. This is just lovely. And I really hope that we've touched our folks that are listening and those that will listen after, because it's important to know that you were born perfect and that you don't have to strive, that you are here for a purpose and that you matter. Just learn to love yourself and you will make it.
So true. All right, stay here. I'm just going to end the broadcast. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Bye.